Okay, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about preventing common tumbling mistakes, the main one I'm going to focus on in this video is inside staining, residual inside staining that's left after they're cleaned. I call this spiderweb staining. It's got a lacy effect and maybe difficult to see it, but if you rotate the bottle you can see that very clearly on the inside there are some stains, and these are 3 examples that I purchased that were already cleaned that had the inside staining, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine to have a bottle that shows staining still on the inside when you're through tumbling it. And you can see it better on that yellow whiskey bottle. Keep in mind, I'm not a professional videographer, and so I'm going to have some hard stops and starts on this video. So just bear with me on it. The process of tumbling, one of the issues you see with inside staining deals with the type of stopple that is used. This is the type of stopple that I use. It's a 3-finger stopple that goes on top of the bottle like so and holds the bottle. You can see that copper can get inside the mouth of the bottle with this style, and it does not plug the inside of the bottle. Some stopples are the cone type stopples, and they actually go in and hold the bottle like so, but in doing so they end up blocking the copper from getting into the top of the bottle, which causes staining to remain there even after it's cleaned. So I like using the finger style stopples myself. Normally when you're doing cleaning, you might take a bottle like this with inside and outside staining and tumble it for 1 day with 1200 grit cutter, which is a light cutting compound, and then 3 days after that, after you pull it out of the cutter for 24 hours, 3 days with aluminum oxide polish or some other polish to clean up the abrasive action on the glass and polish the glass after the cutting. The problem is that pretty typically the inside is stained heavier than the outside of the bottle. If you think about it, it makes sense. These bottles that I'm looking at here are all at least 100 years old. You know, some of them 110, 115 years old. And when a bottle is in the ground for that long, mineral staining comes in from the ground, gets washed into the inside of the bottle, and as it gets dry outside during the summertime, the bottle dries out, and then wintertime more water comes in with mineralized staining to cause layers on the inside of the bottle. So that's where you usually get more staining on the inside, and it's harder to get rid of the staining on the inside. The copper action does not work near as much or near as well on the inside as it does on the outside. So with standard tumbling, I learned in the first 6 months of tumbling that you end up usually with these inside stains left. And I tried many different things and ended up with a method that will prevent having any residual inside staining, and I'm going to share that with you a little later in the video. One thing I do want to mention is that a lot of people are tumbling bottles that really don't need to be tumbled. And when I first started tumbling, the first couple of years, I was tumbling a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have tumbled. And these are some examples. This Galveston hutch, it does have some staining, not bad white staining, but it does have what I would call a nice patina on the bottle. It's kind of hard to see it, but anyway, it's not clean, clear glass, and that's what a lot of people like. But with this type of patina, it's actually, to me, it's a good thing. I don't think we really need to be tumbling bottles like that. This Birmingham Coke, it's got some staining, but it's not bad staining. Same thing with this 1915 bottle from Savannah. It's kind of got a pretty patina, in my opinion. And these types of bottles, I just don't feel like we need to do a whole lot of cleaning on, because you're taking away the patina. And that's my personal opinion, and I've gotten to that after many years of tumbling. I don't clean these bottles anymore. Now, this is a different story. If you look here, this Pensacola Coke bottle, it's got heavy staining, fairly heavy staining inside and out. So this one would be a candidate, in my opinion, for cleaning. And this one as well, a candidate for cleaning. You can see kind of the difference there. It's just not, it's a lot heavier milky staining on those two bottles. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. The other issue with tumbling and not using the method that I'm using, which is cleaning the insides first, I'll give you a little hint, is that in order to try to get the inside clean, a lot of times people that are tumbling will over tumble the outside, and that's, to me, just as big a problem as not fully cleaning the inside. And what I mean by that is you start losing seams. I'm not sure if you can see it on this bottle, but a good bit of the seam, mold seam on this bottle is gone. And I've seen them as bad as, and that side too, as bad as wearing down the slug plates on some bottles. And so, and on this one as well, you can see the seam on the shoulder. I'm not sure if you can see that, but down the body it's gone. And then this yellow whiskey, I can't find a mold seam anywhere on it. It's completely gone. Both mold seams are completely gone. So anyway, that's one other major issue. So I'm gonna take you to see my machine now and talk a little bit about how I've adapted it to clean insides as well as outsides. Okay, this is my cleaning setup. This is a Jar Doctor machine. I'm not putting in a plug for Jar Doctor. I don't, never met Wayne, but I do buy all of my cleaning supplies from Wayne. This machine I actually picked up secondhand and modified it myself, but this is a Jar Doctor machine. The polishes and cutting compound that he provides, I do like the consistency. You can buy polishes from other sources, and I'm sure some of those are good sources, but I have found that his are very consistent, and I don't have to worry about batch from batch, batch to batch, them changing. And so I buy all of my polishing compounds from Jar Doctor. The only thing I don't buy from him is the copper. I process my own copper for my own use. I do sell a little bit of copper as well, but copper is copper. It's there's really not a whole lot to be consistent on copper. As you can see, I have modified the machine, and this particular machine was set up for 3 4-inch canisters that clean inside and outside at the same time. I modified it by putting some bolts with some nylon rollers on there so that they will stop the additional canisters that I'm stacking on top. It will keep them from just rolling off the machine. So when they move forward as they're tumbling, they'll hit these and then they'll roll and won't come on off the machine. I did that so I could tumble more canisters at one time. And you'll also notice that over here I've got a double pulley system to help push the extra weight. So I'm running 4 4-inch that clean inside and outside at the same time, and then I'm running these 2 3-inch canisters, and each of those 3-inch canisters hold 2 bottles in each of those canisters and 1 each in the 4-inch canister. So basically what's happening is I am tumbling 4 bottles inside only, which I will go into some more detail in just a few minutes, at the same time as I'm tumbling 4 other bottles inside and outside. And so I've got a continuous process where I'll take the bottles out of the 2 3-inch canisters, those 4 bottles, 2 in each one, and then transfer them to the 4-inch canisters, and then put 2 more in each of these 3-inch canisters to start that process again. So I'll go into that here in just a minute. Okay, this is the third and final portion to my video on cleaning the insides of bottles. I'm going to show you how I use the 3-inch canisters without stopples to clean the inside, and the way I close off the tops. And that's a key to making sure not only the main portion of the inside of the bottle is clean, but also up near the top. Okay, on this bottle, you can see right there in the neck of the bottle, there's some staining there. There's also staining down inside the bottle. It's harder to see, but you can clearly see the staining there in the neck. And it actually goes up to about right there where my thumb is. It doesn't go any further. And even though you've got a flake off the side there and the top's chipped pretty badly, one thing that I do with bottles like that, if it's fairly clean on the top, is I will use a rubber stopper. You get them at Home Depot, and I want to say they're 75 cents a piece or something. And I'm not sure of the size. You can just measure. I want to say these are smallest portion 5/8 on the small end, and they measure them by giving a measurement on both ends, if I'm not mistaken on that. So what I do is I fill the bottle full of copper, and then insert the stopper and twist it for it to hold. Sometimes the larger diameter stopper doesn't work, and I've got a smaller diameter stopper that I use, and this one actually is a little bit smaller, but I cut off the very bottom of it because otherwise you end up with too much going into the bottle. So it was about twice this long, and I cut off the smallest part of it. This is a little smaller diameter than the one I just showed you, and it will fit into the bottle a little better. A lot of times if the diameter of the bottle is the top of the bottle is smaller. So the other method is just using duct tape to close this off, and as you can see, there's staining all the way to the very lip of the bottle in this case, and the case of that one and that one is the same way. So on these I use duct tape and a rubber band, and I'll show you that method as well. Okay, let me get the camera set up here. right. Okay. Now, so first thing I'm going to do is this is the 3-inch canister. I use knockout test caps, end caps. There are no stopples inside, you'll see in a minute. I use these knockout caps in the OATEY, O-A-T-E-Y. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it or not. Anyway, they're what I use. They stay in very well. There's another brand that I believe Lowe's sells, and they do not stay in on their own. They're loose. These are fairly tight in the end, and they don't come out, and that's why I like these. I believe these are the ones at Home Depot, but it's O-A-T-E-Y. So I use a tool just to get it out of there, and you can see that it's just a test cap, but that holds the bottle inside, and I'm pulling out some that I've already run through the machine. Okay, this one has been run for 4 days, and that's generally what I do is I'll run them for 4 days with 1200 grit before I put them in to the machine to run inside and outside. And some that I will not even run inside and outside. I'll just clean the inside of the bottle and be done with it, because a lot of times you don't have to do anything to the outside. The inside is what looks bad. And I'll show you how to do all this here in a minute, but this is where I already had put duct tape over the cork to ensure it doesn't come out, because believe me, it's a mess if the cork comes out. That's the cork. And then I will pour out the contents, which is the copper and the polish or cutter, whichever the case may be, and then rinse it out. And that one I actually won't even tumble the outside. It won't need it. I'll do a little cleaning up by hand, but that's about it. I'm going to pull out the other one. Alright, the first one I showed you had the cork, was the cork method of stopping it up. This one had staying all the way to the very tip of the lip, or the very top of the lip. So I used duct tape and a rubber band to secure the duct tape. I put 2 layers of duct tape on there to ensure that it doesn't wear through. Kind of a pain to get it off of the top of the bottle, but to find the seam and then just pull it off. Throw that away. Pull that out. And again, that one will not be tumbled on the outside. It will be fine just like it is. But it had some really bad staining on the inside. Okay, now going back to the one that I showed you has staining basically in the inside all the way up. You can't really see it very well, but you can see it right in here. I'm going to rinse out the copper, put it in this bottle, put in some 1200 grit copper, put in the copper and 1200 grit cutter, and then put a stopper in this one. Rinse out the copper. And this copper is just processed copper wire. That's all it is. And it rubs the water and polishing compound against the inside of the glass, taking off the what they call glass thickness, or staining, mineral staining that basically etches into the glass. It's not something you can clean off with soap and water. So now you can see the copper inside the bottle. I use a smaller diameter funnel and 1200 grit. I use 1 teaspoon on the inside of the bottle. Then I will put water in it, basically covering the copper. Take the rubber stopper, twist it and push it, make sure it's down in there good. And then to ensure that the duct tape sticks well, I dry off the entire bottle, including the stopper. And I have had a couple of stoppers that actually came out on me. It's not very fun. So I put duct tape over the stopper. And then mash it down to make sure it takes, and that one's ready to go. So I will take the bottle and roll it up into a hand towel, like so, and put 1 rubber band on the outside to hold it. That is then placed inside. A lot easier when I've got it standing up, but I want to be able to show it on the video. Place it inside the tube, drop it down in there, and we're done. Now the hand towels that I'm using are standard size hand towels, and I roll it lengthwise. In other words, the longest section. So I'll take the bottle and roll it up like that. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to take this one from Atlanta, straight-sided Coca-Cola, bad mineral staining on the inside and outside, all the way to the very top, the inside of the top. You can see it's got some bad staining. And if you were to use a stopper on that, a cork, rubber cork, that rubber cork is going to keep the copper from cleaning the very tip, and you're going to have a nice clean bottle, except for the very inside of the lip is going to look bad. So here's what I do. Same method of filling the bottle. Copper. Okay. Then I'll put 1 teaspoon of the silicone carbide. Then I add water, just like before. And again, I will dry off the bottle to ensure I get good contact and stick with the duct tape. And I put 2 pieces of duct tape over the top. Stick it straight to the top like that, just like I did on the other one. I go straight down with it, and go straight down with the other side. Fold it, and you've got 2 ears. Press those down, and then the next piece of duct tape will go the opposite direction. The ears will be sticking down the other side. Then, just to ensure that doesn't come off, I take a rubber band and wrap it around. Take it and put it lengthwise in the towel like I said before. And roll it up. Rubber band on it. And then slide it down in there. And like I said, this is the 08 TEYOT, I guess it is, knockout test cap for 3-inch. Place it on it and just give it a good smack, and it will stay on there. It does an excellent job. With these, I'm running these for 4 days. I've just learned over the course of many years of doing this that it really takes about 4 days. Normally, if you're doing inside and outside, you would only do 1 day of 1200 grit cutter, but with these, you really need 4 days. The inside just take longer. And the other thing is, you're not going to hurt the inside of the bottle. There's no seams to lose. There's no embossing. There's no slug plates on the inside of the bottle. So it's just become standard for me to run it 4 days. These 3-inch canisters for 4 days. Now you can do inside only. Sometimes if the standing on the inside is not bad, I'll run 1500 grit, which is more of a very light cutter for a couple of days, and then supposedly it turns into a polish after the first 2 days. But if you've got some pretty decent staining inside, you really need to run 1200 grit for 4 days. If you're doing, if you don't need to do the outside, then you'll need to run aluminum oxide polish on the inside for another 3 to 4 days, because otherwise there'll be a haze on the inside of the bottle. If I'm going to be running just a standard like this bottle right here, this one I'll run 4 days inside only with 1200 grit. Then I will, after that, I will do an additional day of 1200 grit inside and outside. And then I'll run it for another 3 days with aluminum oxide. So, anyway, I hope this has been of help, and I appreciate you viewing. Bye.